Hello everyone, here are the latest market news on May the 21st, 2020. U.S. finances AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Multinational pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca Plc received more than $1 billion in U.S. government funding to develop a COVID-19 vaccine from the University of Oxford. The investment accelerates a race to secure vaccine supply, seen as a key step toward getting global economies moving again after a lockdown-induced slump. Stock markets have been rising and falling on developments in research labs as investors weighed the prospects for a successful shot. The UK drugmaker received the money from the U.S. Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority and said it has secured capacity to make 1 billion doses. The Oxford vaccine is one of the world's fastest moving, and AstraZeneca said it expects to have doses ready as soon as September. JPMorgan aims to double China-listed firms. JPMorgan Chase & Co. reported it's set to hire at least 12 equity research analysts in China this year as it takes advantage of eased ownership rules for mainland financial firms. With a headcount expansion for its new brokerage business, the bank's research unit aimed to more than double the number of China-listed firms it covers from about 225. JPMorgan said to put this plan into action over the next 5 years. The move indicates the beginning of an expected hiring spree by major banks as China is a critical market for clients globally. Here in December, JPMorgan received regulatory approval to establish a majority-owned securities joint venture offering brokerage, investment advisory, and underwriting services. Lebanon's PM warns about food security emergency. Lebanon is at risk of a major food crisis due to an acute financial crunch and the severe consequences of COVID-19. The country's Prime Minister Hassan Diab warned of a global food security emergency triggered by the pandemic. He said attempts to restrict food exports must be resisted and called on the United States and the European Union to set up an emergency fund to help the Middle East avoid a severe crisis. More than half of Lebanon's food is imported and its prices had doubled since the start of 2020. Diab said that 80% of Lebanon's wheat had been coming from Ukraine and Russia, but last month Russia suspended wheat exports while Ukraine is considering a similar move. Australian leaders dispute over borders reopening. On Thursday, Australian state and territory leaders discussed reopening of internal borders, which is a major step to recover the country's $80 billion Australian dollars, $50 billion domestic tourism industry as part of measures to ease coronavirus restrictions. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison aims to remove all social distancing restrictions by July under a three-step plan, as the country continues to report low daily numbers of new COVID-19 infections. However, the implementation of the federal plan is down to the leaders of individual state territories who come from opposing political parties and disagree of how safe it is to allow unrestricted movement throughout the country. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Paul Kelly said there was no medical reason to keep borders closed, but many smaller states which have reported very low numbers of infections and few to no deaths remain reluctant.